Hey, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Well, it may be afternoon. I'm not sure. But look like what's going on right now. The suspect in Georgia, the student that shot up the school, killed 4 people, injured several, hospitalized about 9. Looked like, I think his name is Colt. Yeah. Looked like his dad has been arrested as well as his son. Yeah, who had only been at this school for 2 days. So let's hear what they have to say about why his son, Colt, planned to shoot up 5 schools and went on a rampage. Where he get this habit from? I ain't gonna say you look crazy, but he got his ways and mentality from somewhere. Let's go.
Gray, age 54, in connection to the shooting here at Appalachia High School. Colin is Colt Gray's father that was arrested yesterday.
The father of the suspected school shooter in Winder, Georgia, now arrested. And today, 14-year-old Colt Gray is set to face the judge. This is the National Desk, America's News Now. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jan Jeffcoat. It is Friday, September 6th. Police announcing the serious charges last night linking that parent to the murders investigators say his son committed. And those charges do come one day after the FBI raided the family's home, and it was not the first time they had been there. Angela Brown is at the live desk with the latest on the investigation. And Angela, the father, charged with more than a dozen felonies, and now the son's going to face the judge for the first time today.
Yeah, we're going to see it for the first time in court very soon now. Georgia's school shooting suspect Colt Gray will make his first virtual court.
Family's home, and it was not the first time they had been there. Angela Brown is at the live desk with the latest on the investigation. And Angela, the father, charged with more than a dozen felonies, and now the son's going to face the judge for the first time today.
Yeah, we're going to see it for the first time in court very soon now. Georgia's school shooting suspect Colt Gray will make his first virtual court appearance around 8:30 a.m. Central Time. He's charged with 4 counts of felony murder, which carries a minimum life sentence or the maximum death by lethal injection. According to police, during questioning, he admitted to committing the shooting. His father was also arrested for knowingly allowing his son to have a weapon. He told investigators he bought the rifle used in the attack to committing the shooting. His father was also arrested for knowingly allowing his son back here to have a weapon. He told investigators he bought the rifle used in the attack as a Christmas present for his son.
Wow.
4 counts of involuntary manslaughter. Here's the list right back here. 2 counts of second-degree murder and 8 counts of cruelty to children. In Georgia, second-degree murder is punishable by 10 to 30 years in prison. This morning, we have newly released audio from the interview with investigators last year after anonymous tips about his son making online threats to commit a school shooting.
You have weapons in the house?
I do.
Are they accessible to him?
They are. I mean, there's nothing loaded, but they are down.
Okay.
We actually do a lot of shooting. We do a lot of deer hunting. He shot his first deer this year.
Yeah. Okay.
He did what?
So,
He shot his first deer this year.
To be honest with you.
Well,
I'm a little pissed off, to be even really honest with you. In fact,
Just a little?
what was said.
Well, the community grieving together Thursday afternoon at a vigil to honor the 4 lives taken. The 2 14-year-old students were killed and 2 teachers' lives gone far too soon. Mason Schermerhorn, who texted his mother from the restroom moments before his life was taken. Christian Angelo, described by family members as a free spirit, sweet and caring. You have Richard Aspinwall, a math teacher, a football coach. You have Christina Ermy, also a math teacher. 8 other students and another teacher were also hurt. Now, during a search of the suspect's home, authorities also found documents they believe were written by the team that reference past school shootings. Now, we were keeping an eye on the latest coming out of Georgia.
So he'd been mental.
And online all the time at thenationaldesk.com.
So charged with murder, the school district released new pictures of the victims while the team is due in court this morning, where he will be charged as an adult with 4 counts of murder. Faith Abube is on the scene in Winder, Georgia. Good morning, Faith.
And good morning to you, George. The suspected shooter and his father appeared separately in court this morning for their arraignment. The son staring straight ahead at the judge, the father rocking back and forth As the judge read their charges,
So the child is
the kids will spend the rest of their lives behind bars.
He done zoned out.
Overnight, authorities arresting the father of the teenage suspect in that tragic Georgia high school shooting.
His charges are directly connected with the actions of his son.
54-year-old Colin Gray, now charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 2 counts of second-degree murder,
This
and
is
8
horrible.
counts of cruelty to children.
These charges stem from Mr. Gray knowingly allowing his son, Colt, to possess a weapon.
Sources telling ABC News
Connected with the actions of his son.
54-year-old Colin Gray, now charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 2 counts of second-degree murder, and 8 counts of cruelty to children.
These charges stem from Mr. Gray knowingly allowing his son, Colt, to possess a weapon.
Sources telling ABC News investigators believe Colin gifted his 14-year-old son an AR-15 style rifle for Christmas, which the teenager used to terrorize his school Wednesday, leaving 4 people dead.
We're heartbroken. A young person brought a gun into a school, committed an evil act, and it took lives.
This as the suspected shooter, 14-year-old Colt Gray, also faces 4 counts of felony
Dork, look at his
murder,
eyes.
allegedly killing those 4 people.
Look at his
and
eyes.
injuring 9 others. It comes as ABC News has learned of possible early warning signs, with the shooter displaying an affinity for mass shootings, and the FBI receiving anonymous tips as early as May of 2023 about a disturbing post
He been mental.
allegedly made on the social media platform Discord, where they say he had possibly threatened to shoot up a middle school the next day. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office interviewing the suspected shooter at the time, saying he denied making the post. His father interviewed too, telling investigators there were guns in the house, but his son did not have unsupervised access, adding that his son was being picked on at school.
Oh, so you told him to take the gun.
You know, what would ever happen?
The sheriff's office saying there was no probable cause to make an arrest at the time.
What about the other 5 schools? Was he being bullied there?
The student later transferring to this new county, where authorities say Wednesday he allegedly gunned down his victim.
I'm worried about him in school and, you know, what would ever happen?
The sheriff's office saying there was no probable cause to make an arrest at the time, but they urged Jefferson City school officials to monitor Gray, the student later transferring to this new county, where authorities say Wednesday he allegedly gunned down his victims. The community now mourning Mason Shermerhorn and Christian Angulo, both just 14 years old, along with teachers Christina Aramy and Richard Aspinwall.
I honestly thought it could have been my last day, probably ever alive.
Aspinwall student 17-year-old Brian Maldonado sprinting into action the moment he realized his math teacher had been gunned down.
I look up and we can see his body halfway through the doorway, just laying there, taking his breaths, and then we later on hear his final breath.
Maldonado leading
Wow.
students to quickly barricade the door.
We found a cabinet, so we put that everything like there, desks, chairs, whatever we could really put, we just put it in front of the door.
Bro.
The shooter
See
won't
you.
come in. Radius is scary. God was watching over us that day.
Yes, he was.
And neither the father nor son requested a bond.
A statement from the shooter's grandfather. I understand that Cole did it and he needs to pay the ultimate price. I understand that and I don't disagree with that. But his dad is as guilty as Colt is. That's deep. Because he is facing death, the 14-year-old.
I understand that Colt did it, and he needs to pay the ultimate price. I understand that, and I don't disagree with that. But his dad is as guilty as Colt is.
Colt Gray remains in custody at the Gainesville Regional Youth Detention Center. He has a bond hearing set for tomorrow at the Barrow
Which is today.
Courthouse. In Fitzgerald, Maggie Fitzgerald.
In that same courtroom a short time ago. He was charged yesterday with letting his son possess a weapon. That's according to investigators. Father is now facing several charges, including second-degree murder. The other side.
I just need to correct a couple of things on the record. I correctly told you the maximum penalty for the crimes for which you were charged. That's correct, except for the fact that you are under 18 years old. So I wanted to inform you and make it clear to you that the penalty for the crimes for which you are charged does not include death.
Oh, okay, good.
All right, Drika, so we just heard a little bit of what the judge had to say. He was speaking to that 14-year-old boy. What's really interesting, as you know, in this case, is something that we've started to see, which is parents being held responsible for the actions of their children.
Absolutely.
Specifically as it relates to shootings at schools. What else?
And he bought him an assault rifle.
Yeah, and you're speaking about the Crumley case earlier this year when you had the first set of parents in this country charged in connection to a mass shooting in Michigan that also claimed the life of 4 students. As far as today's case, what was so interesting, Vlad, is the idea of seeing all of the parents in that first row in the courtroom who came in and wanted to be there for this first court appearance, and having to see that 14-year-old's face again because they needed to clarify that he is not in fact facing the death penalty because he is 14 years old. That would only apply if he was over the age of 18. So definitely tough for those parents who I watched. Some were crying, some were holding each other. A few of them had shades on, as you can imagine, just still very stricken with grief and overcome with emotion, and having to sit there and look at the person that is believed to be responsible for the killing of their children, of those 2 teachers, was incredibly difficult. I talked to a couple of those family members as they came out. They didn't have any comment, but it was a bizarre moment. I've never seen anything like that, when it's already painful enough to see the face of someone accused of killing 4 people, to have to come back and see them again. But again, another moment, if you will, because you're talking about a father who we now know gave a gun to his son after the investigators came to the house inquiring about the possibility of his then 13-year-old son wanting to commit a school shooting.
Yeah, first of all, Drika, you're absolutely right, which is why I wanted to show these pictures and a little bit of the sound from the courtroom, because I was struck by and that's what I assumed when the camera panned to the courtroom. I looked and I saw people holding their hands, people wearing sunglasses, presumably because there are tears in their eyes, and that was incredibly, incredibly moving. And then, as you just explained, this timeline. Police a year ago, when the suspect was only 13 years old, began an investigation. Take us through that investigation, and then subsequently,
He'd been touched in the head, evil-minded,
what the father's actions in the wake of that investigation, which led up to this shooting.
You know, Vlad, one thing that stands out, and we've heard time and time again, if you see something, say something. So this was a case where people from California, from Australia, reached out to authorities. They then sent that information to the county. The county went to the home in May of 2023 to ask the family questions about possible messages sent on Discord regarding a school shooting. The young man, 13 years old at the time, denied it. The father admitted that there were guns in the house, but he said, we keep them secure, we keep them locked up.
Lies.
And they went about their way because no crime had honestly been committed at that point in time. And that's the tough part about a lot of these types of stories, even when we hear people say, oh, he mentioned something about, or she said she was going to do such and such. But at the end of the day, until the crime is committed, it's really hard for authorities to get in there and arrest anyone. Of course, we talked about red flag laws to help prevent
condolences
things from
to
happening.
all the families.
But it's just so unfortunate that there was sort of a
Rest
peek
in
into
peace
what
to these
was to
innocent
come, but
people.
who would have ever known for sure and with certainty that
his eyes were black.
What we're here talking about today, the death of 4 people at Appalachia High School.
Yeah, and that 14-year-old now arraigned on 4 counts of felony murder, and his father also arrested and in that courtroom. Drika Duncan reporting.